Welcome to Brand You.
The ultimate personal branding podcast.
I'm Kaz Grant.
And I'm Toby Lee.
Together, we're here to help demystify personal branding
and to make it accessible and effective for everyone.
Follow along as we guide you through creating your own personal branding journeys.
So, let's get started.
Let's brand you.
Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 2 of series 2 of the Brand You podcast. Now, in the last episode, we were talking about the perception gap, rating your internal and external perception, and how can you use that to your advantage with your personal brand. And today, we're going to be talking about the difference between traditional marketing and personal branding, and how do you decide which one to use? So, Kaz, where do we begin with this?
Yeah, I like this subject because I'm getting a lot of questions at the moment, and a lot of people are inquiring about personal branding, but they're not quite sure what personal branding maybe is compared to traditional marketing. If they need the traditional, if they need personal branding, kind of what avenue to go. So I guess let's start by looking at what is traditional marketing. So your traditional marketing is mainly your business, your branding marketing. It's your paid advertising, it's your corporate graphics, it's your website. It's all of those sort of aspects to the marketing spectrum. And with traditional marketing, you're looking at things that you can do that will get an instant return, or as instant as it could be, because obviously it needs creating and putting out to the world first. But things like paid ads, you can do all of your market research on that. You can specifically target certain niches, certain people, certain age demographics, all of that. You can send it out to advertise a product or a service. You know that advert is going to go out to so many people, it's going to get so much of a return on it. So you know straight away.
And it's fast in that because of that process, I don't necessarily have to know that business. If it's the product I've been looking for and it's the right price that's been advertised to me, I'm going to click on and make a purchase.
You're going to click on, make a purchase decision, done. You might have still needed to see it through adverts previously, or through influencer sharing, whatever aspect. The more touch points a product you have on a product, then obviously the more inclined you're going to be to buy it when you need it. But it's going to be faster. With personal branding, it's not a business, it's not business marketing, is it? It's not your corporate graphics. It's you sharing your experiences, your views of what you're doing, your views of your industry, all of that. But it's that longevity and that trust building in the mission that you're doing, the business that you're running. It's that side of it. But there's no kind of initial return on investment with that. There's no easy way to say, if you do that, you will get 5 people buying from you in a week. There's none of that side to it. So when you're looking at kind of which avenue to go down, knowing those 2 forms of it is really important. And then looking at what you want to achieve. Again, so personal branding, there's lots of different people that are going to be personal branding for lots of different reasons. Whether you need personal branding or whether you need traditional marketing, it's looking at what you want to achieve. So have you got a business? Have you got a product or a service to offer the world? If you have, and you've got the budget to spend on advertising, on traditional marketing, then look at that route, because you've got a specific tangible thing that you want to get out to the world. You're going to need to acquire sales and acquire that money and that funding to plow back into the business, to grow that even more, to spend more on advertising and budgeting and do that longer term. But if you are a business that maybe hasn't got a budget, and you're maybe a one-man band, maybe you are selling more services than maybe products. Products are easier with traditional marketing, aren't they? But if you're selling services or something and that's coming from you, if you got 100 sales of your services tomorrow, that's you physically in person. So actually taking that leap, spending that much money on traditional marketing and taking that much of a leap from no customers to 100 customers, that's going to overwhelm you and bombard you anyway. Kind of growth would be nice down the line as you grow your business, but maybe actually the personal branding route and that trust and that loyalty and that understanding through your own messaging and that longevity of it will be better. because you might just get one client that month, you might get 2 clients that month, you might get 3 the next month, and then it'll build kind of over time more. So it's looking at, again, the business that you've got, what you want to achieve, and seeing which kind of marketing side is best for you. I actually believe that if you could do every kind of marketing, then that's the best, isn't it? Like from yourself as a headshot photographer, if you could spread that by any means possible, that's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think for yourself, it might be looking at like all of it. But again, it's like, what can you physically do? What can you physically afford to spend your money in that's going to get you the return on investment that you need right in this moment to make your business work?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I've certainly had good conversations with people who have suggested, running paid ads and how that would work for my business. For me, that, like you say, I'm a one-man band. That initial investment, well, it's not an initial investment, it's an ongoing investment. That's the challenge. So say it was £500-600 just to see what results we could get, and then we narrow it down from there. That's big for me at the moment, to commit to that on a monthly basis. I'm sure if you did do that, you would reap the benefits and the rewards in that you would make that money back and more. But it's biting the bullet to do that, isn't it? When you do have kind of personal branding techniques and methods available to you, when you can start influencing these things yourself. The thing that, when you were just talking then, is quite interesting to me is, if you were to build a personal brand that gains some traction and builds a following and an audience, it almost comes full circle back to traditional marketing, that you look at the real big, high profile people that you might follow. They've got a whole team of marketers now that are, through that name, are sending you mail outs. They're probably pitching ads to you on your social media platforms and things like that, all through the personal brand name. It gets so big to a point where it needs to be treated as a traditional business. So it's quite interesting that the techniques do overlap.
And again, it's looking at your start point, isn't it? Everybody listening to this, watching this, is going to be on a different start point level with different budget, different goals, different things that they want to achieve. If you are a decent sized business already and you'd wanted to take it to the next level, then what tactics do you need to do to get that? Again, if you're that one-man band, you haven't got the budget, but you want to take it a little to your next level, what do you need to do to achieve that? We can't say like blanket personal branding beats marketing beats personal branding. Like, there's none of that. It's what's right for you and what works for the area that you're in at the moment, with the all the things that you've got available to you in that moment. And I think it's just great. Go out there and explore the different options as well. I think speak to different marketing agencies, speak to different personal branding agencies, go and do your research on it all. Actually, at the start, you need to go and invest in a marketing agency to get the business off the ground, but do your own personal branding alongside of it. Or actually, have you got some marketing skills that you've collected over the time, and actually would yours be better spent on getting a personal branding agency to help you and then doing your own marketing side to it? Again, it's going to look very different to lots of different people. And the marketing that you need is going to be different for every different person as well, because it's not just paid ads, it's not just a website. Like, some of these things work synergistically together, but some of them you might just need that one thing. And it's worth investing in that one thing. But to someone else, they might need the whole shebang. It's really interesting, isn't it? Like, again, I don't think there's a one size fits all, and I don't think there's a right and a wrong way. And I also feel like, trust your gut on stuff. Like, I know this is maybe a bit woo-woo and not so much of like do this or that and this strategically is the best way for you or whatever. But if your gut is telling you that your ideal audience are not going to listen to you and your messaging and what you've got to share and what you would like them to do eventually with that messaging through traditional marketing, because, you know, it's a corporate graphic might put them off. There's that sales resistance there from people. Whereas actually personal branding, you're sharing stories, you're sharing more authenticity, more of yourself. People are sucked into that. If that's your gut and your gut is saying, I get traditional marketing's there, but I feel like personal branding, I might want to explore that route. Like, trust your gut, and vice versa. If you're listening to the personal brand, and we're obviously a personal branding podcast, right? We're all about personal branding. And yes, I love it. I agree with it. It is one of the best ways to get your messaging out there. But if your gut is then saying, oh, I feel like it should be better spent on marketing at the moment, trust that. Trust your instincts with it.
Is there a hybrid way of working that I'm guessing it'd be more for SMEs, that the individual employees focus on their personal branding and then the business as a whole is using traditional marketing methods? Like, does that kind of have a real nice hybrid way of approaching that? I might buy into your business because I've connected with you at an event and I really like what you put out on socials, and there's something there, there's a relationship building that I'm going to buy into at some point when I need your service. But at the same time, your business is still putting out its notices that it should be.
Absolutely. And this is why, like, the blended approach sometimes is great, because you've got the traditional marketing going out, you've got that brand representation, you've got the business representation, everybody knows what the brand stands for, the mission and everything like that. But then within that, like you say, you've got the employees who are sharing much. Again, I use the example all the time, but only because they're doing it really well, like Gymshark. Even within Gymshark's marketing, there are elements of that human, personal side of things. You will hardly ever see Gymshark just putting a Gymshark graphic out to the world. They might put like a quote every now and again, something like that. If they're sharing images on their marketing pages, on their brand pages, they are sharing humans. They're sharing their shop front, like, in real time. They're not sharing graphics created about it. So again, they're keeping their marketing very real and very humanized. But within that as well, obviously their leader, the head of Gymshark, Ben Francis, is personal branding as well. So the people within his organization, he's got a team doing it. There's no way he's doing all of that himself, right? He's got a team doing that and curating that. It's a very great personal brand. Like, he's doing really well. But the people within his organization then are seeing that and seeing him doing that. They know and can follow the right ways of doing it, that he's doing it. And then that spreads amongst the team as well. So the team will start personally branding and doing that, which is great, because then you've got your traditional marketing spreading the message as it's doing it. And when you look at Ben's compared to Gymshark, obviously, like, Ben Francis has twice as many followers, he gets twice as much engagement, he gets twice as many just eyes and views on his messaging. Gymshark get half, because that's how it is. Every brand out there, the CEO, the person at the top who is personally branding, gets more than Richard Branson gets more, Elon Musk gets more than Tesla, all of them get more. So you will get more eyes on with the personal branding route. Again, that's built over the long term. So they've got that blend of both going on in all the different ways. And you imagine how powerful for that brand overall that both is. They've also got the community building side of it as well. They've got the in-person side of it. Like, if you want to look at anybody doing all of this right, and traditional marketing and personal branding right, go and look at Gymshark, because they are doing all of it right. And when we're looking at people like that and brands like that, again, it's like taking it back to the level that we're at. They're at the pinnacle. They're on that pinnacle of doing it. They've got the money, they've got the team, they've got all of that. But look at the aspects to that and how they're doing their marketing and personal branding, and look at the bits that you can take from that and you can then implement at your level in your own way. And I think trying to not hold your team back as well, because I think with personal branding, people within an organization are going to be a bit worried about letting their employees loose to share stuff. With marketing, it's controlled, isn't it? You've got the marketing team, everything's controlled. Things are going to get ticked off once it's been checked by all the right marketing people and all of the right people in the organization. Then it goes out to the world. I think what's a bit different and maybe scary about personal branding to business owners is there isn't those checks, essentially. You're letting your workforce, your employees, share the messaging in their own way.
Yeah.
And that's going to be like, you're going to have to kind of give the reins over a little bit and trust in the people you've got within your organisation to share it in their own way, to share it in their way, but know that that'll be the right way for your audience to perceive. Maybe again, putting things in place that teaches them, like showcase Gymshark to them and how it's all working really well. Like do a bit of a training day where you can think about, like spend time with your employees, think about some of the things you could share, but some of the things you don't want them to share. And create a bit of a plan on what you're going to share throughout the year. So many different ideas that you could do with that kind of thing. And I think you're just going to 500x your messaging when you do all of this, because it is the blend that makes it all work. It's not just the one thing or the other thing. I mean, all the experts out there in the world, all of the things, like you could be an expert in this and I'm going to tell you to do that. And that has worked for them and that's got them. But also they were doing lots of other little things as well, weren't they? It wasn't just that one thing that got them to where they are today. It really annoys me at the moment, personally, when I hear people who have got to pinnacle of business and life and really successful, and they're going, guys, you got to prioritize your mental health and rest more and blah, 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 otherwise you get to burnout. It's like, but would they have got to the level that they are today, the level that we're trying to get to maybe, if they hadn't pushed a bit? So I get that there is a balance, and I get that if you can avoid burnout, if you can look after yourself, but you know, there's not one right way to do this. You've got to do it in a way that's good for you, because if you're striving to get to that and you're listening to a guru just say that, that might not work for your way of doing things and how you need to do things. So I think what I would encourage listeners to do, though, whatever their gut is telling them to do in whatever way, if they are leaning more towards the traditional marketing route, which is fine, go and do that. Your gut's telling you to do that. You've got budget to do that. Your business requires you to almost do that side of it. Go that way. But to not dismiss the personal branding side of it completely, and to maybe, if you haven't got the money to invest in getting a professional to do it for you, just chip away and start building your personal brand alongside of it as well. So it's not your main focus, it's not going to take all the hours of your day, but you're starting to build that up. Because a personal brand is a long-term game, you don't want to get to 5 years down the line, you've been focusing on your traditional marketing, and then you need a personal brand. You could have had 5 years of just setting up the foundations, getting it ticking along to a certain point. And then at that 5-year point, you might have then the money that's generated from something else to take your personal brand to the next level. But you've already got the beginning bits done. You've already started to build an audience. You've already started to build that trust and that credibility with your audience as well. Because that's what you're doing as well with a personal brand, isn't it? It's growing the trust.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's the personal element, isn't it? It's a bit like how I kind of gave that example earlier. If I'm buying into you, the representative of the business, rather than buying directly into the business, you know, it's going to take me a lot longer to build trust with the business, because I'm only getting I don't want to use the word blanket, but like communication that is aimed at the whole of the audience, not just me individually. I know most businesses try to be much more strategic and personable with the messaging, but again, that's the influence of personal branding on traditional marketing, isn't it? You know, it does work both ways. And I think that's a great example of trying to build that up, because like you say, how many people, circumstances change, there might be redundancies, there might be businesses going under, wherever it is, and people who have invested a lot of career time into a business are suddenly left without anything. Whereas if you can actually, and the only people who know you and what you're capable of are the people within that business. So you might have opportunities wherever they go to go with them, but you might also not. If externally you can, on a personal branding level, be making connections with people, building an audience, be known as an expert in what it is you're doing, if circumstances go bad and you suddenly need new opportunities, it might be an opportunity to create your own business and take that audience with you, or to go to another business and take that audience with you as well. There's other opportunities that can come calling, isn't there?
Yeah. And I think if we look at the stats on businesses, for example, I mean, how many businesses fail after year one, after 5 years? How many don't last till 10 years? If you've just been focusing all of your efforts on traditional marketing for that business, and then in 5 years' time, you haven't got a business because you couldn't make it work, again, you fall in, it's that prepare for your personal brand is also at a prepare for impact thing. So you've got that, like you said, that connections, that pivot into your next thing. You've got all those people still believing in you, even though that business has failed and you were the driver of that business has failed. You've taken them along on that journey. They still believe in you. They still want to see you succeed. They will then help you with your next thing.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful, isn't it? But again, if you've just focused on traditional marketing and you've completely left personal branding and that's it because you thought, I don't need it right now, that you maybe have left your future on the table.
Yeah, and I kind of see personal branding in that sense, or for that purpose, is like documenting what it is you do. Because, like you say, when you then go on to that next opportunity, whatever that might be, you're taking that body of work with you. You're not just defined by that one CV credit of I worked here in this from this year to that year. And nobody actually knows really what that means or what you were capable of, the responsibilities you had. Whereas if you're telling people about that and sharing that, you've got that to take with you. I was speaking with a close relative recently who may or may not be going through a little bit of a career change or whether to stay in the industry they're in, but keep pushing. And we sort of keep going back to actually if we could start building a bit of a personal brand here. And again, personal brand, I'm not talking about he needs influencing followers and all like that. It's a case of just being more proactive and letting people know what he is capable of. Because that is the only, if you don't tell people, they're not going to know. And sometimes it's hard because we go back to the last episode about the perception gap. A lot of people don't really want to tell people because they don't want to come across as showy. They don't want to come across as, I'm bigging myself up too much. But if you don't tell people, they're not going to know.
They're not going to know. They're not going to be able to help you. They're not going to be able to collaborate with you. They're not going to be able to work with you. They're not going to be able to buy your thing. They're not going to be able to connect you with others that might be able to help you. Like, none of that exists if we're not putting ourselves out there. And
there are those occasional opportunities that come along really easy where you look back and you go, all I did was start a conversation with them and just told them, or I bumped into someone I hadn't seen for ages and suddenly it turned out we had this massive opportunity to go into business together, whatever it is, those moments are there to be had all the time. It's just you've got to keep opening the doors to allow them to.
Because they're not going to come if you're invisible and you're hiding. No one's going to come to your front door and go, oh, I heard you were redundant. From the carrier pigeon that sent me a message. And actually, or I saw your smoke signals coming through your house that told me that you were redundant. I just thought I'd come along because my mate Jimmy's got an opportunity that could be great for you. That's not going to happen, is it? Unless you're putting yourself out there.
Nobody's messaging that empty LinkedIn profile that hasn't got a picture or anything on there going, by the way, I thought you might be interested.
Because I just, my magic 8 ball told me to message your blank profile that tells me absolutely nothing about yourself. You look like you'd be perfect for blah, blah, because you had one job once that was aligned to that. Not going to happen. And we laugh and we joke about it, don't we? But you've got to put yourself out there. I feel like we need to get over this showy off part and showy off section now. I was having a chat with someone a few weeks back and again it was just a chat through LinkedIn, just chat. There might be ways in the future we could help each other do whatever, don't know, we're just having a chat and they were saying about how one of their friends one of their friends is personal branding, one of their friends is online putting themselves out there. They were a bit like showy offy and I couldn't do that. And I thought, like, my head went to curious. Very curious. It was like, because they actually have a business that would benefit if they did that. And just because they've got a bit of a problem with this person. Well, this person that's doing it isn't doing it for them. They're doing it to grow their family, to grow their business, to put food on the table for their family, to be a bit more successful and like to get ahead, to, you know, get these opportunities and getting collaborations coming through. They're not doing it because their mate, blah, blah, like, you know, finds it funny and they'd love that about them. Like, they're not doing it for them. They're doing it to get ahead in life. And it's funny how this person was so against doing that almost. To the point where as well, they said to me that they've started, there's a group chat that they've got amongst themselves in their friendship group, and they actually talk about this person and how cringy it is that he's doing this online. And I was like, oh my gosh. So glad that they didn't let that stop them, because how many people would have let their friends' opinions stop them from putting themselves out there? And again, I think this is with traditional marketing and personal branding. There's no fear with traditional marketing, is there? Like, you're doing it from a strategic point of view, you're doing it through the business. There's no judgment there, there's no nothing. Like, you're just doing the steps that you need to do. I think what stops people with personal branding is that fear of what others will think of them, because they're having to do it themselves a bit more. I think we just need to get over that. That part, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
People are going to judge, people are going to think whatever about us. It doesn't matter. Is their opinions going to move me closer to my goals and dreams, or is that going to take me further away? I'm not listening to them. Not listening.
So in terms of moving forward then, and making sure that we're kind of future-proof, like we're talking about the definition between traditional marketing and personal branding. Where do we sort of see things going?
Yeah, and this is the interesting part, isn't it? Because I do think there's going to be a lot more blending moving forward. 2025, there's a massive shift in recent years of how traditional marketing's going. And when I say the word traditional marketing, that line's very blurred now, because there is more like brand ambassadors doing things. There's more UGC, user-generated content out there. Like, people want that realness and authenticity. So even traditional marketing are using those methods. And using real humans in their stuff. So I think it is really, really interesting as we go forward how the both will be segmented, or if they will be segmented. I mean, we're already looking at Quirk, how we blend some traditional marketing in with offering personal branding services as well, because again, we're having conversations with people and they want a bit of a mix of both. And again, they need a bit of a mix of both with stuff. So again, can personal branding agencies adopt more of the traditional marketing side of things, and or align with other agencies that can offer that to their services? And can traditional marketing, you know, blend the personal branding in and do elements of that? Yeah, so there was an article that I read the other day, I can't remember exactly where, but it came through to me, and it said about how the increase in businesses and marketing paying for brand ambassadors in 2024 compared to the budgets that they've got put aside in 2025 for that kind of advertising and marketing is a huge increase. So again, people are already doing this, they're already looking at this kind of side of things, making it more personalised. So this is just going to continue throughout 2025 and beyond. And the introduction of things like AI and things like that is great, and it's going to help us, but it's going to push us more to, we need to be more authentic with stuff, because people are going to start sniffing out AI a mile away. So again, we need to be more personalised with things. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting next few years, I think, for traditional marketing and personal branding and the way we blend them all together, and the way we share what we need to share with the world to make everything move ahead and businesses work and thought leadership work and to get stuff done.
I find that really intriguing, the brand ambassador part, because I can kind of see why you're reaching a bigger audience quicker. You've got that association with the person as well that people are going to buy into. But I feel like, me personally, if I see something that is a celebrity or a high profile person talking about something, I instantly just switch off, because I know there's nothing authentic. They haven't chosen to do this with their time. Of course they haven't. And I switch off completely. But I don't know, it must be effective to be a go-to method now.
Again, I think it's, you're not working with a brand ambassador as such that is just a brand ambassador influence. Those people have built their personal brands alongside of it as well, haven't they? They've built the trust with their audience.
True, yeah.
You wouldn't trust a random brand ambassador that you see that you don't buy into.
Right, okay.
You'd trust a photographer brand ambassador that's created a great personal brand, wouldn't you? Because you've got that trust and that connection with them. So again, the businesses aren't creating the personal brands themselves and sharing it through them, but they're using people who have created great personal brands. And that's what's really interesting as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And again, what's interesting about that, I think, for our audience is a lot of people don't have businesses, and a lot of people are maybe in traditional work and jobs that maybe they're a bit scared about with the new AI revolution that's coming in, that they might lose their jobs and things. Well, actually, creating personal brands again is going to open the doors to future jobs, future things coming through, because even when we look at brand ambassadors, some of them get paid. Some of them get paid in product. It depends on what level they're at and things like that. So there's ways to monetize as well as social media now, even as an employee, that will benefit you creating your personal brand now, again, for when you need it. If AI does take your traditional job, then you are no longer needed, but you've been creating your personal brand, you've created it to a great level. Brands are going to reach out to you to collaborate on stuff. They're going to reach out to you to pay you to do things for them in the future. So actually, again, it's looking at that side of it as well, isn't it? Even if you haven't got a business.
Nice, yeah.
Start personal branding. Again, traditional marketing and personal brand is, this is all going to be blended. It's all going to go into one.
Yeah.
I could see it. Yeah. So our actionable step for you to take in this episode is to look at your strategy at the moment for whatever it is that you want to achieve. Look at your plan, look at your strategy, and think, are you doing maybe the right things? Are you doing traditional marketing? It's working well for you. Are you doing personal branding? It's working well for you. Are you doing either of those things? And actually you think that you could pivot into one of the other ones more or less, and it would work better for you. So this is just a take stock, take audit of where you are and where you're at and what you want to get to, and just have a think about, is there any ways that you can do it a little bit more better so that you're more successful in what you want to achieve?
Make sure you connect with Kaz and I on LinkedIn and any other platforms. And if you have any questions about personal branding, please don't hesitate to get in touch and ask. Keep an eye on Spotify and YouTube for weekly, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Here's to branding you.